Hello to all Cinemaster lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. The movie begins with a car driving along an abandoned road in the forest. In the car are a man, his wife, and their young son. They are heading to spend the weekend in the forest, but while driving, something strange happens. Suddenly they fall off the mountain. At that moment, a young man waking up startled from a dream. This is Mando, the child who was in the car, and that only he and his mother were saved from the accident, but his father died in the crash. Since the accident, Mando has been dreaming about it every night while sleeping. Then, Mando's mother enters his room and informs him that his friend Insum is coming to take him on a trip. But Mando tells her he doesn't want to go out with them, because the route they will take goes over the mountain. Here, since the accident, Mando has had a phobia of heights and mountains in general. At that moment, his mother talks to him, explaining that he can't stay afraid of something for the rest of his life just because of a crisis they went through. She tells him about one of the times she went to the mountain with his father and how happy they were, living a different and unique experience. She manages to convince him to go with his friends, and he eventually listens to her and goes with them. A wizard named Lino performing magical rituals, summoning a supreme power, and asking it to choose someone to be gifted with the power of the underworld. He keeps talking to the fire until a strange shape appears, resembling a winged dragon. Mando, who has arrived with his friends at the campsite, he flying a paper plane he made, and the same winged dragon image appears on his sweatshirt, the same as the one that appeared to the wizard. It becomes clear that Mando's friends don't like him much, as he often isolates himself. Mando flies his plane, ignoring their words and bullying. Sam, Mando's only friend, arrives and tells him that he brought firecrackers to annoy the bullies. After a while, they head to cross a wooden bridge over a river. As soon as Mando sees the bridge, he is scared and doesn't want to cross. Sam encourages him, and Mando takes the first 2 steps, but his legs tremble, and his vision blurs. He almost falls, but Sam pulls him back. When he pulls him, Mando's water bottle spills on his clothes, and his friends laugh, calling him a coward. Upset, Mando runs off to sit alone in the forest, and Sam follows him to comfort him, telling him he needs to be brave and not fear anything. At that moment, a lunar eclipse and solar eclipse begin, the main event they had come to watch while camping. Suddenly, as they watch, the ground shakes beneath them, causing a massive crack. Sam falls but grabs onto a rock, calling for Mando to take his hand. Mando, still scared, hesitates. Another crack forms in the mountain, creating a large chasm that pulls Mando inside. He finds himself in a strange forest filled with bizarre flowers and plants. He hears a voice speaking and turns to see a warrior holding a strange flower, talking to it. Suddenly, a group of soldiers appears and begins fighting the warrior for unknown reasons. A fierce battle ensues, but the warrior is stronger and defeats them. As he tries to escape, another soldier who seems to be the leader arrives. They engage in combat. Mando, terrified, screams out of fear, drawing attention to himself. The soldiers run toward him to capture him. At that moment, the young man manages to mount his horse and swiftly pulls Mando up with him. They ride away quickly, with the soldiers and their leader chasing after them. The young man heads toward a lake, chanting strange words. Suddenly, a hidden path appears in the lake, allowing them to cross safely on horseback. As soon as they pass, the path disappears, leaving the soldiers unable to follow. The young man takes Mando to his tribe, which appears to be a primitive, ancient tribe. The tribe members ask where he had been, and he explains that he was in the forest. This young man's name is Athar, and he is from the Senza Az tribe. The tribe's leader had forbidden anyone from leaving their land or going into the forest. They then ask about Mando, and Athar explains that he knows nothing except that he found him in the forest, where Namor and his men, enemies of the Senza Az tribe, attacked him and tried to kidnap the child. This reveals that the soldiers they encountered were Namor's men. At this moment, Mando regains consciousness, confused about how he ended up there. He doesn't understand what happened and begins to scream, telling them he wants to return to his friends and the school trip he was on. Since they don't understand him, they imprison him. On the other side, the wizard from earlier chanting strange magical words. Suddenly, Namor enters, telling him they found the child, but Athar kidnapped him on horseback and escaped. The wizard asks Namor if the child had any markings with the winged dragon. Namor confirms that the boy's clothes bore the same symbol. The wizard then declares that this is the chosen child and that they must retrieve him from Athar and the tribe at any cost. Back to Mando, who is still imprisoned. A sweet young girl named Llama visits him, bringing food and water. She talks to him from behind the door, and Mando asks who she is. Llama reveals that she is the chief's daughter and that Mando is now in the promised tribe. He then asks if she has a phone, and she looks puzzled, not understanding what he means. Mando asks what year it is, and she replies that it's 2020. Mando realizes he's traveled back over 1,000 years, and he is shocked, not knowing what to do. Just then, Athar arrives and tells Mando he will be subjected to a test to determine whether he's a spy or just a normal person. They take Mando, tie him to a wooden board, and throw him into the lake. While underwater, Mando encounters a creature resembling an octopus, but far scarier. The creature stares at him before tossing him out of the water. This is revealed to be the tribe's test, a ritual that determines if someone is pure, corrupt, or a spy. Since the creature threw him out of the water, it proves Mando isn't a spy. After the test, they give Mando new clothes and invite him to sit with them at their special table. They ask him why he's there, and Mando explains everything that happened in detail, telling them he's from the future. Naturally, no one believes him, and they mock him. To convince them, Mando pulls out his megaphone and phone, leaving them all astonished by these strange devices. Now intrigued, they wonder what to do with him. Athar suggests they take Mando to Aunt Armand. Reluctantly, they agree, though it's clear Athar has other reasons for the visit. It turns out Athar is in love with Sarah, Aunt Armand's daughter, and he uses the opportunity to give her a flower he picked earlier. However, his plan doesn't go as expected, as the horse eats the flower behind his back, ruining his gesture. Despite that, Athar and Mando spend the whole day together. At night, Sarah's grandfather, Namor, arrives, and they all sit together to talk. The grandfather explains that the time rift that occurs between eras only happens after every solar or lunar eclipse. Mando asks when the next eclipse might occur so he can return to his own time, and the grandfather replies that it could be after 1 year, or 10, or 100, or even 1,000 years. Mando feels deeply saddened by this answer. One of the people present suggests there might be another way, but it would involve magic, which is very difficult to access. Or they could rely on strength, but such power only resides with the chosen ones. Athar speaks up and suggests they ask a wizard if they can help Mando return to his world. The next day, Mando is walking around, taking pictures of everything with his camera, amazed and in disbelief at all the things he's seeing. The people around him are puzzled by the pictures he's taking. Later, Mando goes to Athar and asks if they can visit one of the wizards. Athar tells him that they can indeed visit a wizard, but wizards always have tests, and it might be difficult for Mando to pass them. Mando becomes fascinated with horseback riding and asks to ride Athar's horse. Athar lets him try, but Mando falls as soon as he gets on. Athar is impressed by Mando's determination and tells him he'll teach him, as long as Mando wants to learn. Athar begins teaching Mando how to shoot arrows, ride horses, and do other basic survival skills they rely on. In exchange, Athar asks Mando for his megaphone. During this time, Lama is watching Mando from afar, clearly showing signs that she likes him. Mando continues learning and improving, getting to know the tribe members more, who are still curious about his belongings but impressed by his unique ways. After learning well, Mando asks Athar to show him the way to the wizard. As Mando prepares for his journey to find the wizard who can open the time rift, Athar takes the megaphone to Sarah and shows her how to light a match, which shocks her since they are only used to making fire by striking stones. Meanwhile, Mando heads into the forest, following the path toward the wizard. Suddenly, he hears a strange sound behind him. He grabs his bow in case it's an animal, ready to defend himself, but it's Lama. Mando asks why she's here, and she tells him she's coming with him and won't leave him alone. Together, they continue on their journey. They climb a hill, and as usual, Mando is scared, but Lama tries to encourage him. Eventually, they reach a very deep place in the earth. As soon as they enter, Mando hears a strange noise, and suddenly, the ground shifts. He finds himself in a strange, high place, and Lama is no longer with him. Mando realizes this is where the wizard must be. The wizard tells Mando that to find the Stone of Power he seeks, he must first pass 3 tests. The wizard asks Mando to share his greatest fear, and Mando's mind immediately recalls the accident that happened to his family long ago. To this day, he's terrified of heights and climbing. Suddenly, everything returns to how it was, and Mando finds himself next to Lama. She tells him not to move away from her for a moment. They leave that place and sit together, where Mando shares what happened and the tasks the wizard assigned him. Lama helps him by showing him the items the wizard mentioned, and then she takes him back to the village, where they find a beautiful lake. Mando decides to let the winds determine the fate of the stone, so he ties a piece of his clothing to a stick and lets the wind carry it. It lands right in the heart of the lake. Mando realizes that the stone is in the lake, and he dives in. He indeed finds the stone and emerges from the water excited. However, his joy is short-lived because the wizard has sent a raven to watch Mando's movements. The wizard then dispatches Namor and his soldiers to capture Mando. Namor and his soldiers start attacking the village where Mando is staying, causing chaos. Meanwhile, soldiers from Athar's village also head to the same village because they discover Lama is missing. They arrive just as Namor and his men are wreaking havoc, leading to a brutal battle. However, Athar's soldiers manage to rescue Lama and Mando and bring them back to their village. When the grandfather sees them return, he scolds them, especially Lama, for leaving the village. On the other side, Namor confronts the wizard, Ajuga, and learns about the situation. He tells Ajuga that if he doesn't retrieve the Stone of Power, he will be killed. It becomes clear that they don't want Mando himself. They only want the stone he found in the lake. No one else can retrieve that stone except Mando, as the winged dragon chose him. Ajuga insists that he will find a way to get the stone. Mando then goes to a mountain and places the stone inside it, as instructed by the wizard, but nothing happens. There's no opening, and no time rift occurs. He remembers that the priest said he needed the Heart of Power. Confused about what to do to activate the power, Mando decides to rest and complete his task the next day. When he sees Lama, he reminds her not to leave her room. He decides to go to her grandfather to apologize, but when he enters the grandfather's room, he finds him drawing designs for wings and flying machines. The grandfather comes in and tells Mando that he wants to create wings and things that can fly in the air. Mando explains that in 1,000 years, there will be rockets that can go beyond the atmosphere, which astonishes the grandfather. At that moment, Mando decides to help the grandfather by improving some of the designs he created. He even makes a paper airplane in front of him, impressing the grandfather and encouraging him to work together. Meanwhile, Ajuga is trying to perform magic over a fire to summon the stone, but he is unsuccessful. The next day, while walking near the forest tower, Mando accompanies Lama and asks about the story of the tower. She tells him the tale of a brave warrior who deeply loved his girlfriend and sacrificed himself for her. He removed his heart and threw it into the heart of the dark forest. There's a legend that says this heart turned into a stone that is connected to love. Later, Mando is sitting with his grandfather when the village chief enters, revealing that one of the soldiers admitted they are searching for Mando to take the stone he possesses. The grandfather tells Mando that they need to hide the stone in a place that no one can reach, and that place will be atop the tower. The grandfather manages to convince Mando to climb the tower and overcome his fear. Mando indeed does so, climbing with his grandfather to hide the stone. That night, an unusual rain falls, turning into snow. Mando spots a giant trapped in a cage. This giant is Dyson, Namor's brother, who was captured during one of their tribe's wars. Mando feels pity for Dyson, so he covers the cage to protect him from the rain and snow. Due to the heavy rain, many stones fall from the tower, including Mando's stone. Dyson sees the stones falling near the cage, grabs one of them, and breaks the cage door to escape. While coming out, he collects some stones, one of which is Mando's. Dyson returns to his tribe, but they don't welcome him, especially Namor, who is furious at the sight of him. Namor quickly takes the stone from Dyson and rushes to the wizard Ajuga to perform his dark spells and harness the power from the stone. The next morning, the grandfather discovers Dyson's cage is empty and sees many stones around. He realizes Mando's stone is missing and hurries down to inform the tribe that the stone is likely in Ajuga's possession. The grandfather warns them that if the stone falls into Ajuga's hands, he will use it for dark magic. They decide to use an aircraft to retrieve the stone from Ajuga, instructing everyone to fly at night to avoid being seen. Meanwhile, Ajuga is holding the stone, trying to extract its energy, but it refuses to cooperate. He states that the energy will only release in the presence of its rightful owner, the one chosen by the winged dragon. Therefore, they plan to capture Mando. The grandfather takes Lama with him and retrieves water from the lake to cover the aircraft. One of Namor's men suddenly attacks the grandfather and knocks him out, alerting Namor, who continues to beat him and curses him. They realize he wanted the boy, not the girl. The grandfather returns to the village and informs everyone of what happened, emphasizing the need to rescue Lama and the tribe. They all begin preparing for war. Suddenly, the raven that Ajuga sends to watch Mando appears and speaks to him, telling Mando that Ajuga wants him to deliver Lama. Mando quickly follows the raven into Ajuga's lair. Ajuga hands him the stone, instructing him to activate it, but the stone still doesn't work. Mando finds explosives that Sam had brought for camping among Ajuga's belongings and grabs them. The others panic and flee. Mando quickly retrieves Lama and the stone to escape, but Namor catches him, threatening to kill Lama if he attempts to deceive him again. Mando promises Namor not to harm them, and as soon as he holds the stone, he recalls what the wizard said about the stone needing a heartbeat to activate its energy. He lets Lama hold the stone with him, and when they do, the energy begins to flow. Ajuga takes the stone and starts his incantation to summon the beast he desires, granting Namor the power from the stone. Mando believes that Namor won't kill him, but Namor orders his brother to deal with Mando and Lama, taunting him about bringing a gift. Despite being tall and strong, Namor's brother is childish. He heads out to kill Mando, but remembers Dyson from that winter day and refuses to do it. Instead, Mando gives him some small chocolate treats, allowing him to escape back to the village. When Namor discovers that his brother Dyson is the one who helped Mando flee, he kills Dyson in rage. With the power from the stone, Ajuga summons a giant beast, and Mando recounts everything that has transpired to the villagers, leading them to prepare for war. After a while, they hear heavy thumping sounds, and the beast appears before them. This beast consists of enormous stones engulfed in flames, charging towards them, leaving them unsure of how to confront it. They throw rocks at it, but nothing seems to affect the creature. Then, Athar charges at the beast, leading it towards the lake where he manages to knock it down. They believe Athar is dead, and Sarah starts to cry, but Athar emerges from the water, preparing himself to fight Namor and his men. A fierce battle ensues between Athar and the tribe's army against Namor's soldiers, and they succeed in defeating Namor's men. However, Namor manages to escape to the wizard. Just when they think they have vanquished the beast, it reappears. At this moment, Mando rides on a horse, racing towards the mountain from which the beast first emerged, as a solar eclipse occurs in the sky. Once he reaches there, he hears many screams coming from the village, realizing they are unable to deal with the beast. He quickly returns to the aircraft that he and his grandfather built, takes off, and flies high over the mountains until he reaches Ajuga. Mando seizes the stone from him, stabilizing the beast. It becomes clear that the power of the beast and Ajuga also came from the stone. Mando throws the stone into the water, and at that moment, Namor arrives, wanting to kill Mando, but Athar appears and fights Namor until he defeats him, throwing him off the mountain. Athar returns with Mando to the village and tells him he truly loves Lama and that he must return to his world. Mando then heads back to the place he originally came from, where he finds the gate opened. He steps through it, and as soon as he enters, he returns to the exact moment when the mountain was shaking and sees his friend Sam still falling from the mountain. Mando reaches out his hand and pulls Sam up. After they finish their adventure, they return home, and Mando spends his time searching for information about the Sansa tribe. Eventually, he finds a book about them, which his mother brings him. He discovers the exact location of the Dark Forest and heads there. Upon arrival, he finds the heart-shaped stone of the night and places his hand on it. At the same time, Lama, in her world, places her hand on the same stone but in the other realm. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button to get more new videos. See ya!